What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Chris Moore, and in today's video we got a project going on, boys. Yeah, that's right, Magic Mike hard at work today. We got a 2018 GSXR 1000R model, and Mike is installing a full exhaust system. This bike already had a full exhaust system on it. We took it off and we're swapping it out for a different one. He had the Yoshimura Alpha T full exhaust system. That's a full aftermarket header and everything. And we removed it to put this Brock's Performance Pentacarbon full exhaust system on. Beautifully ceramic coated in black with a carbon fiber tip. The blue logo gonna look super good. Go with his blue wheels. We just dyno tuned this bike about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we've got some horsepower numbers to compare. We're not doing a back-to-back comparison same day, which I know that's the best, but it's kind of hard when you're trying to do a project all in one day to run it, dyno it, and then Magic Mike's got to work on the exhaust pipe. So that didn't work. So we are going to compare his dyno numbers from the Yoshimura Alpha T to the Brock's Performance full exhaust system. We're also just give him a fresh oil change, and we're doing a rear brake delete. Now I can see a lot of you guys typing away now, why would you take the rear brake off? That's stupid. Well, this guy is only using his bike for drag racing purposes. And for drag racing, the rear brake, once you extend the swing arm, is kind of sort of pointless anyway. If you hit the rear brake super hard and the rear tire is extended, the back tire slides. Now in a parking lot, yeah, it's pretty handy to have the rear brake, but you get used to it after a little while and the bike still stops just fine. Does take some getting used to, but like I said, if you were to jam on the rear brakes on this bike right now, it's gonna slide the rear tire. All right, guys, enough talk. Let's get into some of the action. Before we dig off into the GSXR, we'll show you a little bit about some of the projects going on around the shop. This is a ZX14. I posted a video or pictures of this thing on Instagram the other day. The color combo, this customer has custom painted this bike, and the color he has chose looks super good. It's like a ceramic gray color, I think you call it sometimes. But we're installing an air shifter kit on this thing. Of course, it's not buttoned up yet, but you can see all the wiring. Magic Mike has got it real nice and neat. Looks factory fit and finish. You can see all the materials that we use to wire these things up. Everything is using, I guess you would say, nice, neat weather pack connectors, waterproof seals. That way, nothing on your bike is cut and rigged up. Everything is factory tapped. Boom, that's my bike, the Roll Race GSXR 1000. You can see from our last video where we tore this down after doing some roll racing with this thing. We run this thing wide open for over 1 mile, just everything it had, and we were pulling the motor out. Everything was running fine, but we wanted to tear it out, tear it apart, and see what this thing looked like inside, see how the motor was wearing, see how the motor was holding up. And we're yet to split it apart yet, but like I said, that project is coming. We've also got a new swing arm on order. But first off, guys, I know you see me rocking the More Mafia hoodie. We got a ton of hoodies in stock. A lot of new More Mafia merch has just came in. Make sure you check this stuff out on the website, moremafia.com. We got several color combos of hoodies. These new hoodies just came in. These are actually a kind of a medium weight, thinner hoodie. They're good for like a 55, 60 degree day. If you're out riding your bike, these things are perfect. These here, we got a few of these left. The cream with the logo on the back. And then these are the normal thick and warm hoodies like you've always had before. More Mafia hats. And then we've got just a couple of very few of the Black Mamba hoodies left too. These are the thick ones. These are nice and warm. And then, of course, tons of More Mafia t-shirts. We just got in brand new. I got to even be careful touching these things. Brand new white More Mafia shirts. So if you want to pick these up on the internet, please help us out. Support the channel. moremafia.com. All right, guys, while Mike is over there finishing up the GSXR 1000, Dazzling Drew is over here. Look at him. He's just a smile. There he is doing a set of fork seals on a FJR 1300. And Tucker is doing a power commander and a set of bar risers on a FJ 1300. Yeah, that's right, guys. We have a pair of FJR 1300s. We're going to put the FJR on the dyno, try to tweak it in, see how it does. What kind of power do you think that thing will make? Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, we do dyno tune a little bit of all kind of bikes, not just sport bikes, but mostly sport bikes. Speaking of the dyno, look at this tire right here. All right, let me flip on over here. This tire was on the dyno last week. We were not videoing, unfortunately. Even though it was pretty scary, it was... Drew, he stood there like a champ, dude. He was just standing there watching it. Boom! Tire literally blew completely out. Busted the lights in the dyno room. Literally, piece of the tire flew off. Busted the lights in the dyno room. Luckily, nobody was hurt. Definitely bad scene. This was actually a pretty new tire. I mean, as far as the tread looked perfect. But the date code on the tire was dated 2017. So the tire was made 5 years ago. Should that cause it to fly apart on the dyno? No. But if you gotta go out there and check your date code, guys, let me show you where the date code is at. So when you see Shinko, hook up, scroll around, here it is right here. They always put date codes on all tires, cars, trucks, motorcycles, whatever you got. That right there, made in the 16th week of 17. So that's what week it was made, that's what year it was made. Long story short, you see what happened to this tire. It simply just came apart on the dyno. Could have hurt Magic Mike super bad. We were very fortunate. We got a piece of the subframe. Yeah. It was on a Busa. It actually, we had the tail section off, but this is the piece of the subframe that holds the tail light. Yeah. So anyways, you see what it did to this piece of metal? Imagine what it would have done to his back if we would have been sitting on the bike. That is one of the reasons we don't sit on the bikes on the dyno. A lot of you guys comment and say, oh, well, why don't you sit on a bike? It'll get traction better. No, we have them strapped down tight on the dyno to make them get traction. But you see what kind of dangers come with that job. Looks dangerous. So anyways, what he's doing, he's cutting the rear brake hanger. So from the factory, these things have a rear brake hanger. Let me see if I could find one. I can't find one. Anyways, basically like this ZX14 here, there's a bracket that holds the rear brake on. Since we're deleting the rear brake on this bike, we're gonna clean that hanger up. And they make a delete thing that would normally delete that, but now we got to have this ABS sensor. This right here is the speed ring. We got to have that in order to keep our ABS intact. Even though we may not be using ABS at the track, we don't want warning lights, check engine lights, stuff like that. So we cut around that where the sensor is still there, but the ugly, I guess you would say, brake delete or the brake hanger is gone. It's gonna look way better in person. Once we get it all put back together, you'll see here in just a second. All right, guys, for all you drag racers out there, we're gonna weigh this brake system and try to see what all this stuff weighs. So let's pile on this stuff first. There's your rotor, 1.12, 1 pound, 12 ounces of rotating weight. Then we take the brake caliper. That puts us at 3.5. Brake pedal basically weighs nothing. And this is the piece of that bracket that we cut off. This piece is actually pretty heavy. So this is not the best way to weigh this stuff either, guys. I know that, but 4 pounds, 10 ounces. The brake line is hanging off. We got some more junk in there. Let's just say 5 pounds of total loss with the brake. And you can see, let's walk around here and just see how much cleaner it looks. With all that stuff removed, looks way better. See how you don't see the brake hanger, but the sensor's still there. That makes it look way nicer. Brock's Performance exhaust system is installed. We're about to have this thing fired up here in just a second. Then we're gonna hit the old trusty rollers and see what kind of power we got. All right, guys, we got everything buttoned up. We are here on the dyno. Guess who's gonna make a special guest appearance dyno tuning this bike? Hey, it's me. Magic Mike had a family emergency and had to jet home. I'm gonna finish this project up today on the dyno and see what we can get out of this thing. We pulled up the customer's last dyno tune from where he was here previously a couple weeks ago. 181 and 81.9 foot-pounds of torque. So pretty good numbers, but we told him when we was here, like, man, that Yoshimura exhaust is holding you back a little bit. He got the Brox exhaust system. He's listening to us at More Mafia, and we are getting this thing dialed in for him. Let's see what the Brox Performance exhaust does for him. I'm flying solo today, guys, so I'm gonna have to prop you up. Sit you right here. Let's go on this other side here. Oh yeah. Here we go, guys. We're gonna do 3 pulls back to back to back, get the tire getting hot and see what the difference is. Guys, 187.87 horsepower and 82 foot-pounds of torque. So we picked up a tiny smidge of torque at peak torque, but out here in the upper RPMs above 13,000, you can see we gained 3 foot-pounds of torque pretty much throughout the board. So that's gonna make a big difference in your quarter mile and eighth mile times. Top end, no matter where you're at, if you're in the high RPMs, this Brock outshines the Yoshimura everywhere. 180 horsepower to 187. That's 7 horsepower at 13,700 RPMs. Those are huge gains. The main reason for a lot of this is the larger tubed exhaust. The Brox exhaust, the header is just a little bit larger than the Yoshimura throughout the header and the mid pipe, which really helps a lot. You gotta think, guys, the guy that owns this company, Brock Davison, he is a drag racer at heart, but that don't mean his products won't work on the road course. Look, red line versus blue line. The red line is pretty much on top every single where in the RPM curve at 8,800, went from 125 to 127 horsepower. Keep in mind, 0 tuning has been done whatsoever. I did not touch the ECU on this thing. that's just putting it in and letting it ride. Now, to be honest with you, it looks like a really straight, flat RPM curve. So I'm not gonna sit here and shoot you a line of boo-boo and tell you that I could tune it and get it a lot better. I might could tune it and get a tweak here or there, but for the most part, she's pretty well dialed in. Now, as far as tuning goes, this customer has elected to go with MR12. We are gonna pour that up in the tank now, do some more tuning and see, get some more horsepower. I'm gonna go ahead and call it, let's just say 195, 196, coming right here in a second. All right, guys, here we go. First pull on MR12, no tuning changes whatsoever. We just drained the tank, poured MR12 in there. Let's see what kind of gains we get. Guys, as you can see, we got huge gains right off the bat. So when the customer left here, and on top of that, let me go ahead and tell you, when he left, he said he went back home to Louisiana and kicked everybody's ass. So anyways, we went from 181 to 186 by just bolting his exhaust pipe on. Now we've just poured MR12 in the tank and we're at 194.22. We haven't touched the tune yet. We haven't done anything. We just put the combination of parts on the bike that we know work. So now we're taking the ECU and we're reading the information that's in the ECU. We're taking that information out. We're gonna put it on our computer screen and then we're gonna start making tweaks and adjustments based on the modifications the bike has done. We're gonna, and how the readings we're seeing. We're gonna take those modifications and then we're gonna tweak them. Now, one thing that you just caught on to that I said earlier, this customer is from Louisiana. So he's right near New Orleans, sea level / below sea level sometimes when he goes to New Orleans to race. So we got to tune this thing a little differently. We may, I don't know if we're going to lose 1 or 2 horsepower, but we're going to have to richen this thing up a good bit. We're going to have to send him out the door too rich in our house for it to be right at his house. So anyways, let's see what the numbers end up coming out to be. Anytime you get a tune from us too, we look at the elevation of where you live and we calculate for your elevation. Now, same thing goes for our ECU flashes. If you live in Denver, Colorado and you're wanting to get an ECU flash from us, you don't get the same ECU flash that the guy in South Carolina or a guy in Florida would get. The guy in Florida gets a different tune from the guy in South Carolina. The guy in Denver, you get a way different tune. So we calculate for all that stuff to try to make the best possible estimate for the fuel and the elevation that we possibly can. All right, guys, this should be the last pulls on MR12. I got you back here in the back so you can really hear how this Brock's Performance exhaust sounds. You can even smell the MR12. numbers are in: 195.61 and 85 foot-pounds of torque. Huge gains up top. We went from 181 horsepower to 195 horsepower. Right there, 185 to 195. Dude, I can't talk. From 180 to 195, huge gains. This guy's gonna have a crazy top end charge now. And not only that, it picked up horsepower, as you can see, everywhere. You can see right here that Yoshimura exhaust had a bad dip in it. We went from 82 horsepower to 88 horsepower. Now, of course, that's with the MR12 and the exhaust change, but you saw what the gains were on pump gas with no tuning, guys. Big gains. I still got the magic touch on the dyno. Hadn't been on the dyno tuning one in quite a while. Magic Mike has been taking care of that, but today, like I said, family of mercy. Let's pray for Magic Mike. Hopefully everything goes all right with his family situation. We won't get into that right now. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Let's go inside. Dazzling Drew is buttoning this thing back up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. The content like this, we have this stuff all the time, especially with GSXR 1000, ZX10s, and all other super sport race bikes. You can see team effort here. We're getting this thing buttoned back up. Overall, she turned out great. We're gonna send this thing back to the bayou, give him a special thanks for bringing it, and give us a thumbs up for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, we'll see you next time. Oh man, I'll put this on there. Oh man. Yeah, cut this video.